Well, welcome once again. This is the Doctor of Digital, the Doctor of Digital podcast. I'm looking forward to today's episode because today we're talking about some great topics and some really interesting things that everyone needs to know about how AI, LinkedIn, and social audio are changing the rules for leaders. What would you do if you could future-proof your leadership strategy? Not by working harder, but by working smarter. With AI, LinkedIn, and the rising force of social audio. Purpose of the show is to transform your business and life with education and inspiration. I introduce busy people to trends and ideas and improving their lives by highlighting authors, leaders, and game changers they should know. Today's guest is Al Kushner, an award-winning author and entrepreneur who helps CEOs harness cutting-edge tech to grow and lead with confidence. His upcoming book, The AI LinkedIn Advantage, drops July 4th and is already generating buzz among forward-thinking executives. In this episode, we'll explore how CEOs can integrate AI with social audio and LinkedIn to elevate their business presence, create deeper audience connections, and stay ahead of the digital curve. You'll learn actionable strategies to sharpen your brand, grow your influence, and lead smarter in today's hyper-connected world. Want to get ahead of the competitors? Reach out to Al Kushner directly and grab the AI LinkedIn Advantage when it launches on July 4th. Your leadership edge starts now. Welcome to the program. Al, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Appreciate it.
You bet. Looking forward to this. Got a lot of great things here. So don't know where to start, but I was thinking about it. Maybe you can tell us something about your background or how you got interested in this topic and get us to set it off.
All right. Well, I've been on LinkedIn for quite some time, I think since its inception. And I've always believed in the platform would do a very great thing for a lot of people. And I've seen it grown over the years. And ever
Okay.
since Microsoft took over, it's just been tremendous in having such a great outreach. I mean, I think there are close to 900 million or a billion
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
on there. So it's just amazing how it's changed over the years. So I really followed it and became quite adept at some of the features that are available. And since AI has been pretty much a popular topic, I figure why not combine AI and LinkedIn
Mm.
together to see what ways to make it even more productive platform. So yeah, happy to talk about it.
Sure. AI and certainly is a hot topic. LinkedIn is the site to go for professionals. I would like you to say a little bit about social audio because that might not be quite as familiar with a lot of people. Could you just explain what that is, what you mean by that, and what's the definition?
Well, I believe social audio is really about giving to people, educating people about topics of value. You know, when you're connecting on LinkedIn, for me, it's always giving more than I receive. So if I can create audio to generate interest, whether it's through articles or other forms like videos, I find it to be a great way to make quality connections, to be accepted when you are reaching out. And I think that makes a difference with people treating you more as a educator than a salesperson, I would say.
Definitely. And obviously, I'm interested in anything having to do with audio because I'm in podcasting, but sometimes this is what I think as well, too. You sort of get to know people, I think, a little bit better. And I think that's one of the limitations of LinkedIn. It doesn't have quite always that direct audio or visual connection. But I think maybe you could tell us a little bit about, since that is the connection that you're drawing upon, what is the connection then between social audio, AI, and LinkedIn?
Well, I would say that audio as well as video has become pretty much popular on LinkedIn itself, and the algorithm really loves that. So if you can go ahead and create posts with videos, that definitely will raise awareness and get you noticed above the noise, and that really makes a difference. You know, if you're doing something when it comes to whether it's audio, video, you're always going to be better than someone who's just simply posting text, which a lot of people are relying on. And with AI technology, it can create scripts for you to write that could help you to become impactful when you post. So it's not about being self-serving, it's about giving more than you receive. And that's really what you need to do when you want to become, a thought leader on LinkedIn.
Sounds like a great business strategy too, to give more than you away and more than you take. But I was thinking also, since we want to talk about AI, definitely, where do you see AI, and in particular for business leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, how are they able to integrate AI into their current business practices?
Well, very simple. AI makes it much easier to create content. It also helps to create prompts that allow you to be more impactful. I find it's a time saver, particularly on LinkedIn, especially if you're responding to someone on LinkedIn, replying to a post. A lot of people say, "Oh, thanks for sharing," and that's about it. But you
Yeah.
need to be a little bit more elaborate. And what I do is, with you using AI, it can actually analyze the post and think of ways that can actually enhance that thought leaders or the influencers post, and maybe in a way get you recognized as someone that also is contributing to the success of the individual you're following. So I think that's a great tool to use.
And when you say AI and a tool, I'm always curious then, what do you see as a tool or several tools that seem to stand out for you? In other words, there at this point, there are several options out there. What do you think you could use, or what AI tool or tools would you suggest business leaders use?
Well, again, the most popular one is Chat GPT. You're familiar with that, and that really has a lot of really unique features on it that you can use to create content, create ideas for videos. You can combine that with Grammarly, which actually helps to improve the grammar of the actual copy that you're presenting. So these are just off the top examples that I've used that are really effective in creating content and establishing yourself as a thought leader to rise above the noise. That's
Mhm.
really what it's all about.
Do you see any one of the tools being better than the others for a business leader? In other words, there's Chat GPT, but then of course there's others, Perplexity and all the others. Are there ones that you think are particularly adaptable to business leaders?
Well, I think a lot of them, they're always changing and improving upon themselves. So it's something that in my book I have resources where you can kind of use
Mm,
and access and see which one is kind of designed for your particular needs. Because ChatGPT is general, but there are ones that are more specific depending on if you're in sales or if you're looking to find a job. There are different ones available, so it really depends on the individual. There's probably over 50 that I can off the top that I think of that could be used. So you have to try out which ones that may be best for your needs.
Sure, there's a great site. There's a AI for that. There's somewhere out there that somebody's working on a tool. I'm also curious in terms of business. Do you find that there are some distinctions to be made between the size of a business? In other words, should AI be used effectively by small businesses, medium size, enterprise level, or are there some differences or similarities between the different levels of business?
Well, I think that AI will help all businesses itself. I think it's just a matter of the typical things that you need or what you're looking to use it for. If you're looking to create content and articles, AI will be applicable to all levels. If you're using it for create scripts or videos, again, it can actually provide leverage for the small business owner to compete
Mm,
against the large corporations because they can turn around the articles pretty quickly as opposed to going through compliance, for example, where a lot of, for example, financial planners may not be able to post immediately because they have to wait until compliance reviews it. So sometimes that can give someone an edge over that situation where it's immediacy. And then as soon as that is available, their post may be not even relevant because the other one posted like weeks ago about the topic and doesn't really, add value. So it's really something I think small business owners could really benefit from.
I'd like to dive into the book that's coming out July 4th. Could you tell us some of the contents of the book? What would a person expect? What provoked you to write this in the first place? So, where do you think it fits in the landscape currently?
Well, I think certainly if anyone who's using LinkedIn and wants to use AI technology, they can help it to, for example, improve their profile. Because I think the most important thing that people forget is that when you do any outreach, you should have your profile optimized for your particular situation. So, for example, creating a title and using certain keywords that people may look up to find you is important. And AI can help generate those, those keywords that you can incorporate into your profile to help enhance it, so you can become, more, acceptable to the person you're doing an outreach to. Same thing with your bio. You can use
Mhm.
AI to help improve upon certain things that make it more appealing. Um, there are a lot of things that are, even with technology, you can make your headshot even improved upon with AI technology to make it even more attractive for those who want to make connections, because you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, simply put. And if you don't do that, you're really just going to shortchange yourself. And that's just makes a difference, by using AI to help you to improve your profile. So before you do any outreach, you'll be able to make sure that everything looks, exactly that, represents who you are professionally. So my book
Mm.
goes into detail how important that is.
And I'm curious about the writing process. In other words, a lot of both authors and business leaders don't have time to write a book. So I'm curious about the actual process of writing. How did you do it? I'm sure you're a busy person like a lot of us. So what was your writing schedule and how did you come about having the time to be able to put a book together?
Well, you have to set time aside. For me, it took over a year to really set the time aside for it, and certain hours of the day to dedicated towards that. And I've used AI to help create an outline for it, but I had to be authentic and give as much as I can that I learned from that into the book. So it was really something that does help in a way. And I think that, the years that I spent on LinkedIn, I've used my research to find what things that are pain points for people so they can understand. And I think probably the biggest pain point is devoting time towards LinkedIn. How much time do you do to the platform, compared to other platforms? And I think it depends on your situation. If you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, that's the place to be. So you want to do as best as you can on LinkedIn. So you want to create content. You want to create newsletters for people so they can follow you, and you want to create videos that will get attention. And those are things I talk about in the book that is going to really set you apart from the competition, because a lot of times they're not doing that. And a lot of people don't really do their LinkedIn the way they should. For example, when they're posting, a lot of times they'll post and ghost. You post something and they'll come back a week later to check on responses. That's not what you want to do. People want immediacy. They want to know that, whatever they're inputting, they'll get some kind of reply. Even a thank you would be great. But some people don't do that. So my book delves into that, why you shouldn't do that. And you should really just, engage with your followers at least, beyond there at least once every other day, or if not every day.
Hmm. Well, what kind of suggestions would you make? And is there a set amount of time, or could you suggest a half hour, 2 hours, something like that, or just general guidelines of what a person should be dedicating to LinkedIn?
Well, a lot of times I like to do it in the morning, between 8 and 10. A lot of times I will go ahead and post, usually Tuesdays to Thursdays in the morning. That seems to be a good time where people are pretty receptive to reading content on LinkedIn. I do newsletters, so newsletters usually go out at probably on Thursdays. I have 5 different newsletters go out to different niche markets, and they get a lot of read, because what's interesting, newsletters, not only to get notified on LinkedIn, but outside of LinkedIn, they'll get it in their inboxes, because LinkedIn has such a strong authority that it bypasses a lot of spam filters and it'll get read, which is really amazing. So I think that's something that really gives you the ability to become a thought leader by educating people you want to reach, through that platform.
Since AI is still fairly new, it's a hot topic, but people are talking about it. But let's say the person is interested in your book and they're interested in learning more. What sort of suggestions would you make to start them and get them on the path of using it more effectively?
Well, I mean, I have courses on my website, linkvantage.com, where they can learn about how to optimize their profile and how to do outreach strategies. So those things that are available. I also do one-on-one training with a lot of executives to help streamline the process. It's just a matter of, time dedicated towards that. But if you take the strategies that I use in my book and do training, you'll find it to be very easy to use in the future. You'll find that you'll create articles and be able to become a thought leader, which is something that will help bring a lot of business. It's just a matter of investing in yourself. If you invest in yourself to do this, you'll find it'll be worthwhile in the long run.
Mm. And do you think the future? I mean, I can't ask everybody to be a prophet, but where do you think AI is going? Because it is such a new and dynamic type of technology. How do you see it unfolding? Because you can't answer the question exactly, but we're always curious about talking to people who are using AI. Where do you think it's going?
Well, I think it's here to stay. I think it's just going to get better over time. And I think that it'll make a much easier way for people to network. And I think that if people learn how to give value by using AI, it'll help save you time and educate whoever you want to connect with and come across as someone that is a thought leader. So I think that AI is definitely going to improve over the time and become more human like and be adaptable to situations where people will want to save time and be able to provide content that's going to be rich. And I think it's definitely something that is going to be part of the future.
And just to play a devil's advocate, you may have heard this before because I've certainly heard it. People are saying they don't use AI and there's a reluctance to use it. What would you say to the person who says, I'm not really sure, or I don't really want to use AI? What would you say to that person?
The same thing would you say to a person back in the 1900s when they had a choice of using a horse and buggy or using the new Ford car. People are just used to things, the same old thing, the same old way. And the fact is that that's technology. Either you embrace it or you get left behind, and that's really what you have to make a choice. And I decided to embrace it, and I have no regrets since doing it.
And that's what's interesting is there's a quote from Henry Ford who said, if you ask people at the time when he was building cars, what would people want? They would say faster horses. It's like, well, okay, but we got a car. So,
Exactly. And AI is the car,
yeah,
and
AI is the car. So I usually
so
I usually say it's like the train. The train is leaving the station, so you either jump on or you're going to be left behind.
exactly. So you want to get on that train and you want to make sure that it's going the way where you want to go. So
Mhm.
it's definitely helpful.
And could you talk again a little bit more about the content of the book? Like, what does a person get? I know there's people interested in the topic, social audio, LinkedIn, and AI, but what do they get, and what are the contents of the book?
Well, I would say resources available, some of the latest technology that you can utilize in addition to ChatGPT. There's a number of resources I've listed. I would say also um, ideas and how to create content, creating chat prompts, which I think is really essential because when you are using a chat GPT, for example, you can create a prompt that helps to streamline future postings. So that really is helpful. So the book also includes access to about 100 different prompts that you can use for a variety of applications. That makes a difference. Prompt writing or prompt engineering is a very hot, industry. And if you become an expert at prompt writing, you'll find it to be much easier to generate content and create interest. And like I said, dominate your competition because you know a lot more how to provide value to whoever you're connecting with.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I was seeing a little report yesterday about a prompt engineer, and the average amount is $78 an hour. So I'm thinking, if you were a young person and I had a choice to work at McDonald's or be a prompt engineer, I'd like to be a prompt engineer, I think. So yeah, I think it appeals to young people too. Get on board with
Oh,
the hot technology.
I wish it was that years ago that I would have been, I jumped on it, but I, that's life, and unfortunately. But the book, talks about the importance of doing prompts correctly, and I think that is something a lot of people aren't aware of. That it just makes it so much easier to create content and respond to someone's posting fairly quickly. Compared to like having given it some thought. I don't have time for this. You know. And the book really addresses that issue. You can use it and make the time, and all of a sudden you can find you have a lot more followers, you have a lot more people want to reach out, and you'd be amazed at how useful it is because it is something that people are really don't understand, why it works, but if you do it the right way, you'll find it to make your life easier. And that's what it's all about. It's about saving time. Time is money.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that because certainly that's what I've seen because I use it quite a bit as well, and that's why I have an interest in it. And it's a time saver. So most of my applications have to do with writing because I'm somewhere in that book publishing space. But all the things that I do are just saving time. So maybe you can summarize one of those concepts, which is saving time. But what other advantages have you seen using AI?
Well, for example, if you're using AI using prompts, you can create something whereby you can have uh, the AI to create content in your voice and provide examples of your work, and then it would come out with something that says very similar to what you would say compared to someone else. So you can instruct it, or you can instruct it in other ways where if you're responding to a post, reply in a casual tone and perhaps ask a question. That's something that the influencer never thought about, and that's something that also you can use the chat prompts to create that, so it makes it much more easier to respond quickly. And the key thing is when you're responding to an influencer, you want to try to respond within the first 15 to maybe 30 minutes because you're going to be on the top of that echelon depending on how popular you are. And they can have thousands of followers and they're going to post after you. But if you're in the first postings and such, you'll get a lot more attention and also get people perhaps checking out your profile because they found your response interesting, and a lot of times the influencer may decide to reach out to you because you help them make their posting viral as a result. So and that's what AI can do in that regards. It's really amazing technology.
And I've seen that my experience corresponds to that as well too, and this is what I think is really advantage because I begin feeding the AI with the prompts and all my writing guidelines and my writing style, and then when it kicks something back to me, I go, "It's pretty scary because that is what I would say," right? So it gets to know me and my tone, my references, the things that I would actually address. And I think there's a real advantage with having AI. It's an assistant to you and all the
Yeah.
work.
And you can create with AI avatars who look just like you and sound like you. And you can do whereby you can create a script where you can have the AI to generate, and you'd be like a talking head, and people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That's really amazing and scary at the same time. And you've probably seen examples of that out there
Mhm.
that really people are amazed at it. But you can do this in a way that if you don't have time to do videos, you can create an avatar in your face and your image and create a script for it and put it out there. And you'd be quite surprised that people wouldn't really know the difference. And that's something that really will help you to enhance yourself because you want to provide value and information. And why not put it in a way that makes it easier, like with a video compared to text? I think that's a great feature.
When it comes to the actual publication, a lot of people are interested in the process of who to publish with. And I'll give you the traditional idea is the standard publisher, which is traditional publishing, a hybrid publisher, self-publishing. When you were thinking about this process yourself, what did you think were the advantages for yourself and what did you choose?
Well, there are ways that I could have gone with traditional publishers and such. And I find that a lot of times it's about being quick to market. There are other books that'll be coming out later this year and that may address the issue, but it's first in, first serve. And when I do that, I have the book out there first. So I've gotten all pretty much the exposure. So by the time the other book comes out, nobody's going to be interested because I already talked about the issue. So if you're looking for fast to market, definitely self-publish or work with a small publishing firm that can get it out quick, but provide value and make sure it's properly edited. But there's no reason why you can't do that with features like Amazon or other publishers. Ingram Spark, I believe, is a publisher also that
Yes.
can go ahead and print your book out on demand, and that's really amazing. Even create audiobooks, which are impressive. And I have both audiobook and ebook and print version available to give people options, which I think is great. A lot of people don't do audio because they
Yeah.
think that, well, I don't have time to do that. I got to do it myself. Well, if you don't do it, then you're missing out a whole huge marketplace. As you know, with Spotify, having audiobooks out nowadays. People are listening more, and they want to have things. For example, when I drive my car, I make my
Yeah.
car university on wheels, and that's great. And when I do things, I listen to it, I learn, and that's really first thing I thought about when I made the book is, make the audiobook. And that's what I did. And that really made a difference.
Yeah, there's multi-channels, which I always point out, and also for a person who is doing this, I get it out there. To me, a book is what they used to call is the business card, but it's a business card of today. You have a book, you're interested, here. I've already got all this, and first to market is generally the winner. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about the launch and tell people how they can get the book and maybe how they get a hold of you too as well, because this is getting close. July 4th, great holiday, but it's also your book is coming out.
Yes, yes. So you could find the book available. I have a QR code over here, but people can probably see.
Nice.
I'm not sure, but they can go ahead and scan that. It'll take you right to Amazon, and it's also available on Spotify as an audiobook as well. The book currently is in hardcover version. The paperback will be released on July 4th, as well as the ebook and the audiobook version. So we make it available to those interested. You can also go to my website, linkvantage.com. I have also a free ebook on how to optimize your profile. So you can access that, available on our website, as well as connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with people, and looking forward to helping those out there and learn more about AI and LinkedIn and how it works together.
That is fantastic. I appreciate all that. And Al, I want to thank you for your time today. Very exciting book, very exciting times. And I agree with you completely. Like, get on board because the train is leaving the station. Thanks for being my guest today, Al.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And I look forward to hopefully being on again, Mick. Thank you.
I hope so too, because things are moving quickly. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
If you like what you heard, and I'm learning a lot as well too, make sure you reach out to Al and get that book when it drops on July 4th. I also want to thank my publishers, that is a Burning America and also On Track Ian Hunter. If you want to reach out to me, I'm the Idea to Author Coach. You can reach me on Facebook, Substack, LinkedIn, all those good places as well too. So if you have some time, chalk out with conversation. If you have a book in mind or an interesting topic, love to chat with you as well. Once again, this is Dr. Digital signing off. Until next time, Deus Volt.